Hey there, welcome to the UkeStuff channel and welcome to this full UkeGuide review of this instrument. This is the Enya Nova U Pro Tenor Ukulele. And these have been out for some time. They've already been reviewed by pretty much all the other reviewers. And you might be, Chris, why haven't you reviewed this yet? Well, there's a couple stories there. First and foremost, I had ordered one of these very early on in black, and I was going to just buy it straight out. I know some other reviewers were sent theirs. That's great. Not complaining, but I was going to buy one because I like this company. I like what they do. So I had one purchased, and then Enya canceled my order intentionally to send me one for review. So then that one didn't come because they sort of ran out. And after I got that one, I had an accident with it. And it took a little while to figure out what I was going to do with a review because you certainly don't want to feature a broken instrument on a review. I do have it and I will talk about it. I'm not going to shy away from that. And really, it doesn't change my story about these at all. And I've been a big fan of these. In fact, the concert is a 5 out of 5 on my UkeGuide rating. So that's what this is. This is a UkeGuide review. It's really inspired by the yellow energy saver forms that you see on all the appliances. It's a one-page document you can find at ukestuff.info or ukeguide.info that summarizes everything I'm going to say in this review. So if you don't want to watch the review, you have another option. You can just go download the PDF and basically see what I have to say there too, or those are there for you at any time as well. There are over 100 ukuleles that have been reviewed now on this channel in this format. So Enya did send me this one, and incidentally another one. For review purposes, I was going to buy it directly myself, so this video is labeled as being a paid advertisement, even though I'm not being paid to review it. I was sent this and another instrument to review, and of course other Enyas in the past, although that doesn't impact this review so much. So what we're going to do in this review is we're going to look at some subjective categories. Then we'll take a look at the specifications. That will include an analysis of the sound with Tonal Energy Tuner. And then we will look at the specifications and then finally summarize it and give it a UkeGuide rating about 20 minutes from now. So that's what this review is all about. Now, let me tell you the story. So in August, in fact, I was getting ready to review this in August, and I was going to the Two Harbors International Ukulele Carnival, which is an ukulele festival held up north of Duluth, Minnesota. Sort of a regional get-together. Very fun if you ever get the chance. It's smaller, especially this year with COVID, but it's kind of a neat approach to doing an ukulele festival. Well, anyway, it's held in this big pavilion, big sort of barnish garage thing, and there's a concrete floor. And as I was dragging my iPad and my iPad music stand and my Enya Nova Pro, because I was getting ready to review it and thought, what better opportunity to review it than to take it to a live setting. While I was standing there, I'll grab it here, I had the case, and the case was in my hand and it slipped out. So it fell from basically my waist onto the concrete of the pavilion there, and it landed. I can show you exactly where it landed. Here is where the impact is on it. So it was in this case and it landed right here. You can actually see where that occurred while it was in its case. And what immediately happened was the entire bottom separated from the ukulele. Now, there's another negative here, which is that I didn't have another ukulele at the time, and I didn't have any super glue with me. So ultimately, thankfully, there was a Bonanza that I wanted to buy, and that will be coming up for review in the future as well. Not the Bonanza Amoeba that I just recently reviewed and in fact sold yesterday, but another Bonanza. So this one was out of commission and missing the boat with Enya, talking back and forth. Finally got a hold of them and they sent me a replacement. And here's the deal. I'm not a tenor player. That's one of the things that I found out is that I mean, I can play tenor and I will keep at least one tenor in my collection, but really I'm a concert player. That's my favorite scale. And it's okay to have your own scale that you like. So I gravitate towards the Nova U, which is the original concert version. Very, very happy with it, and still don't quite know how it works with its narrow spacing and everything, yet it's very, very playable. I don't know what all works there, but it does. I love it. So my concern to Enya was, I don't know if you need to send me another one because quite honestly, this one was more than enough, but I don't know if we want to feature a broken one in the review. Now, I'm talking about in the review, but that's not the one that I'm going to review for the rest of the review. By the way, how did I fix it? Super glue or CA glue, put into the crack, and clamped it down. It's not the prettiest. It will never be pretty again, but it's absolutely playable. Now, that is also a little reminiscent of this instrument. This is Franken Enya from my original Enya reviews, where Enya sent me a defective model, and as far as I can tell, the only thing that made it defective is that it has spacers in the gears. That they sent me a defective model to purposely break, and it took me a lot to break this. And in fact, what it took was landing on that strap button, and then you can see the crack that occurred. And then it was many other drops that broke the neck and other things. For the most part, this is still playable too, although there is a fret up here that because of gluing the neck back together, because it was completely apart, there is a fret that I had to basically file down to nothing that then, like for example, the G chord does not always work like you'd want it to. So, but this is a proof that, with a normal situation of a break, you may not have the pretty ukulele that you once had, but it can be serviceable again. This is the exact example of that. Now, there's a lot of weight difference there too. Maybe I got an Enya Nova Pro or Nova U Pro that just wasn't glued so well in the factory when it was made, and it made it easier to pop. I don't know. But I stand affirm that Enya would stand behind that sort of situation because it was in its case. It didn't get dropped by itself. It was in its case. And as we talk about this and review it, that's going to be one of my criticisms is the continued use of this case of this instrument. So let's get into the subjective categories that I always talk about. The first is cost. While this has recently been on a Black Friday sale, so occasionally when there are sales, Enya will offer a deal on this. Its going price is $139.99. Its introduction price was like $119.99. That's what its Black Friday price was. But you can find these for $139.99, which is a really good bargain for a polycarbonate carbon fiber plastic ukulele. The closest competitor you're going to find is an outdoor ukulele like this, right here. And these sell for $165 without any accessories. And of course, they have a polycarbonate version of the outdoor ukulele for $205, again without any accessories. So that makes the value, including the fact that you're getting a case, although I'm not a big fan of the case. We'll talk about that in the full summary here. You get a strap, you get a capo, you get strap buttons, and extra Enya fluorocarbon strings. You get all that for $139.99. That's a pretty good value. It's a really good value for this instrument. The build quality is flawless. I mean, perhaps there was a gluing problem with the other one, but when you get one of these, it's glued together. You can't see any of the seams. It's painted. They've done a great job on the frets, although I have a friend, Steve, who will probably watch this review. He went and even further dressed the frets and polished the frets and so forth. He went further, which you can do. Barry Maz in his review talked about the rolled fret ends, which is a high-end deal. I'll just mention again that you're dealing with a radius fretboard, so in some ways and for some players that's easier to play because our fingers curve. Yeah, the build quality is just excellent overall. So let's go take a look at the inside of it and give you a chance to see what's there, although quite honestly you're not going to see much. It's just black plastic / polycarbonate / carbon fiber in there. So let's go take a look at that.
All right, so here's the inside lower bout. You can see where the lower strap button is attached at the bottom there. You might be able to get a glimpse at the bridge up on the top occasionally and the bracing, and here's the upper bout. Not a whole lot to see here. There's the screw that screws in for the strap button on the top. But overall, not a lot to see here. You'll actually see the fret sort of imprinted there. There's the extra support for the neck, and you can see the frets there on the upper bout there. There's a little cutaway on the inside, the Enya logo. So really, I mean, it's super clean. It's what you'd expect from a plastic injection molded ukulele.
Now, as for appearance, there's a ton of features here, just like the previous Enya Novas. Side sound port, you've got the straps, you've got the Enya logo sound hole, you've got this slotted bridge, which is really nice, makes for easy string changes. You have a compensated saddle. You have sort of that built-in nut so that action is really good up there. You've got metal frets, you've got a radius fretboard, that neat headstock, the gold tuners with the black buttons. You've got the cutaway with sort of the scalloping at the same time, which is a nice feature. Very easy to get your hand in there. If you're left-handed, that could potentially be a problem. But overall, just a loaded instrument for a plastic ukulele at this price point. Now, if you'd like one of these, you can order one right now from enya-music.com or Amazon. I would always encourage you in this case to order directly from Enya, even if they fulfill from Amazon. I mean, there are reasons not to, but in that way you're making sure that you're supporting the company more than you're supporting Amazon. That would be my suggestion. There are some dealers that are carrying Enya. I think Southern Ukulele Store in the UK had been carrying Enya. Maybe World of Ukes, not sure if they still are, but that's worth checking out if you're living in the UK as well. Now, in terms of playability, overall it's really good. And if I were a tenor player, I think I would absolutely adore it. But I'm not. That's not my main instrument. I'll play it, but it's not the main thing that I gravitate towards. What I found is that the action is good. It's a little bit high at the 12th for my taste, but just a touch. I mean, not by much. Um, Again, you've got actually a deeper neck than you'd think, a little bit wider neck than you'd think in many cases. So it's almost a 38 millimeter nut. The neck is like 22 millimeters deep at the third fret, so it's kind of thick, but it's got a nice profile on it. Really, the negative of playability, I think, are the strings. And again, that's not a big issue, but they're the D'Addario titanium strings. I just have never been a fan of those strings. I still need to try D'Addario's fluorocarbon. So I'm not against D'Addario. I'm just not a fan of the titanium strings. So um, I would be swapping these out with the fluorocarbons that Enya includes. I think they're the E6 brand that they include. So yeah, as playability goes, then you've got a very comfortable, nice playing experience. It's top notch. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find a better playing ukulele, especially with other strings. Now, in terms of sound quality, it's a bright and clear tone. It's not as bright as the concert, which really has a really bright, lovely sound. So this has more of a middling sort of overall balanced sound than I think the concert does. The concert is way more percussive and bright. It's still bright. There are overtones. There's a lot of ring in the sound, a lot of sustain, but it definitely lives a little more in the mid-range or lower range of the instrument. So it has good volume, and it can be a little tricky to play it quietly. You really have to sort of work on this one. Some ukuleles lend themselves to playing quietly. This one lends itself to this sort of like loud, moderate to loud volume most of the time. And again, that could be the strings too, because it feels to me like you're pressing harder and strumming harder to get sound out of the titanium strings. And I know there are people that like them. They're just not my thing altogether. One of the things I do in these videos is I let you see what I'm hearing by playing a C chord or G chord on DGB ukulele into the app Tonal Energy Tuner on my iPad, and you can see what happens with harmonic energy. So here we go. All right, it certainly has more sustain than tonal energy tuner is picking up, and there are overtones ringing, but it does kind of show that lower living nature of this instrument that sort of sits in the lows or mid range of the ukulele rather than the high range. It's very balanced. It's a very, very nice sound for a plastic instrument, but at the same time, um, it does live in that lower part, and I think that's fair. I wish it did show a little more of the harmonics that I'm hearing in the sustain, but that's okay if you can take my word for that, I guess. All right, and those are the subjective categories. Let's go into the specifications. It is a tenor ukulele. Scale length is 17 inches from nut to saddle. It has 18 frets with 13 to the body, which is a little unique. There are side position markers that are in the paint, and the body style is a traditional double bout with a cutaway and kind of a neat scalloped cutaway. It sort of looks a little bit like an electric guitar. The soundboard, back and sides, neck, bridge, fretboard are all made out of a polycarbonate and carbon fiber mix. I think I heard as much as 30% potentially. Um, don't quote me on that though. I could be wrong on that. That's just my memory serving me. So the whole thing is sort of that plastic based all the way through, except for the metal frets, of course, the metal tuners, and the strap buttons, and your strings, which are also sort of a plastic base or a nylon base of some kind. The fretboard is a radius fretboard, which is basically unheard of at this price point, and the bridge is a slotted bridge. It's sort of like an in between a slotted bridge and a pull through bridge, um, but you do just tie the knots and pop them in there. This is a really nice design, as is the outdoor ukuleles as well, to be fair. So that's a really nice part of the design. Um, the nut and saddle, I'm not sure about the saddle. I'm not sure what the saddle is made of, if it's just plastic or if it's also that polycarbonate. I listed it as the polycarbonate, but the nut for sure is part of this entire construction. And it is a compensated saddle. The finish is a matte paint, and this has been a concern of some buyers. I didn't talk about this in the build quality, but some people have experienced yellowing on their older Enya Novas, so I think they've changed the construction. This one is yellowing a little bit, but it's also gone through a whole lot more. So I certainly can't fault it for that. But I think I've even heard that the black is a slightly different color as well. It's only 26.5 inches from tip to tail. I think I heard somebody talking about the fact that they needed a different tenor bag. Well, tenors are normally 26 inches, so it should fit, but I suppose it's possible if you have a really, really tight fitting bag, then you wanted to carry this, it wouldn't fit so well. And the other thing is you sort of have a slimline ukulele, so a normal big bag may be too much bouncing around room for something like this as well. And the weight is kind of, here's the other one. It's heavy. 1 pound, 10.6 ounces. So it's a heavy ukulele. Now, is it painfully heavy? No. Can you live with it? Yes. Do you have an included strap? Yes. So that's all, not a big deal, but still something to think about. The tuner type are open geared tuners. The action at the first fret is perfect, 0.5 millimeters. The action at the 12th fret is a little bit high, 2.75 millimeters. Now, I think you could take out the saddle, shave a little bit off of it, and make it perfect. But again, one of the joys of buying an ukulele like this is that it should be able to be set up perfectly. So I really like the 2.5, 2.65, so it's just a touch higher than I'd like. And I feel it, honestly, with the D'Addario titanium strings. Maybe with the Enya strings, I wouldn't even care. It's possible. The nut width is 37.5 millimeters, so it is a wider nut than many Chinese ukuleles that are imported or ukuleles that maybe come from Indonesia or other places. And the space between strings at the first fret is a very wide 9.69 millimeters. That's really wide between each string at the first fret, making it 31.35 G to A. So they give you a lot of wide spacing on this instrument. So people that have larger hands are going to like this a lot more than the concert as well. Finally, the last issue I look at is depth of the neck at the third fret. So from the top of the strings to the bottom of the neck, it's 22.27 millimeters. That's pretty thick, but the shape is good. It's not a C shape. It's a very much contoured shape, so it doesn't feel anywhere near that thick, and it feels good in your hand. All right, now that we've talked about the subjective categories and we've talked about the specifications, let's summarize this instrument. Again, I was sent this one for review, and actually sent a second one after accidentally breaking this one. So just so you're aware that as you watch this review, keep that in mind that in a way it is a paid review. So I am allowed to keep this or do what I want with it even after the review. So very, very thankful to Enya for sending me this. And again, I would review anybody's ukulele in a similar way, even if they want it sent back. I'd be happy to do that. So this is the big brother of a couple other ukuleles. Of course, first the Enya Nova concert. Then after that, we had the Enya Nova Mini. And this is the third family member in the Nova series. And it's a good one. Enya listened to the feedback from the customers. There were some people that were reporting fret wear on the concert version in particular. I'll also be doing two comparisons. One will be with the other Enya Novas, and then the other will be with my outdoor ukulele polycarbonate version. I don't have the carbon fiber version, but I'll at least give you an idea comparatively what they're like and what the playing experience is like. So with these changes, the metal frets are nice. Then you don't have any questions about the fret wear, and you get all the features of the other Enya Novas that are out there. It's a win-win. Maybe you don't have all the color choices yet, but I think those might be coming. So this ukulele is almost a 5. It's almost a 5. There are some things that keep it from being a 5 for me. So let me just go over those very, very quickly. It's a touch heavy. It's a heavy ukulele. The action of the 12 is just a bit high. I know I can adjust that, but just with a plastic ukulele, I'd like that be just set on. There is no included tuner with the kit. You may, I think you will, want to try other strings. The case is not great and does not offer much protection, although they have improved the case a little bit by adding a backpack strap. And if it should rip out like it did on my soprano, you can actually take that apart and put it back together, which is nice. Still, not a big fan of the case. I wish that they would do a different, like a traditional soft gig bag with it with good padding. The uke is a little fragile. It's not as fragile as a wood ukulele, but it's also not a tank like an outdoor ukulele. So you got to keep that in mind. It's great for outdoor conditions and for different weather conditions, but you don't want to throw it around. You don't want to throw it into your car haphazardly. I think you want to be careful with it, not only because of the painted finish, but because it is a glued object. And just keep that in mind as well. And then the final thing really is it's $50 more for this instead of the concert ukulele, mainly because of the metal frets, although a little bit because of the size. And for me, I'm not sure that $50 is worth it, but that's me. If I'm a tenor player, this is an immediate in my cart at enyamusic.com. I mean, really, that's where we're at. Also, if you ever think you're going to plug it in, if you ever think there's a chance, you will want to buy the one with the Acoustic Plus, because it'd be really hard to go back and put in a pickup on this instrument. But that Acoustic Plus not only will give you the sort of cool effects on your own, again, those are just for personal enjoyment rather than entertaining a room, but it would give you the output to then be able to amplify. So if you think you're ever going to plug it in, buy the Acoustic Plus version. If you don't think so, like me, you're not going to plug in very often, or you have another ukulele, such as my Flight Diana, that I would plug in, then there's no point in buying the Acoustic Plus version of this. Get the standard model for $139.99, or if you can find it certain times of the year at even a better price. So if it's not a 5 out of 5, what rating would it be? As you know, I rate ukuleles on a scale of 0 to 5 ukuleles. This would be a 4.5. It's very, very good. Now, what things would kick this over the top to me for 5 out of 5? Well, let me tell you what they are. First of all, if the strings were stock, the Enyas, that would help. Now, I know you shouldn't base a review of an ukulele on the strings because strings are subjective, and you might love these strings. I don't. Second, a different case. And I think that's the big one for me. If Enya would include a traditional soft case, and in fact, they could actually probably sell those for the number of ukuleles that are thin line ukuleles that would fit well into that case as an accessory. If they could sell sort of a padded traditional gig bag rather than this sort of like sunglass case material, it's not really ballistic. I think that would offer more protection to the ukulele as well. And those are the two things that I think would kick it over the edge. The other items of this instrument that I talked about that are concerns really are inherent to the nature of the instrument. Unless they change how they put it together and painted it and sold it, that's not going to change. But it is so, so close to a 5 out of 5, but it's a 4.5 out of 5. All right. First of all, I want to thank Enya for sending me this one and ultimately this one for review. Thank you for being so kind and understanding with the accident that occurred with it. Second, I want to thank you for watching the video. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll be back soon with some more Uke stuff for you.